The Oklahoma sun beat down on the fields, turning the land into waves of gold and green. The wind rippled through the wheat and pasture, carrying the scent of warm earth, fresh hay, and growing things. Tawnie, 14 now, stood beside her father, sweat beading along her hairline, boots too big for her feet, laces tied tight. She didn't mind. She had work to do. Her father handed her a metal bucket, cool in her hands. "You ready?" Tawnie grinned. "Always." They moved through the farm together, her steps quick, eager, eyes taking in every detail. He showed her how to mend a stubborn fence, coax an irrigation system to life, and read the subtle language of the land, the shift in the wind, the smell of incoming rain, and the quiet rhythm of growth. Tawnie mirrored him, hands learning, mind absorbing, body remembering. Every bolt she tightened, every step across the fields, every machine she repaired felt like a piece of a larger puzzle taking shape inside her. For a moment, she paused, looking across the field, stretching to the horizon. The sun warmed her back. The wind lifted her hair, and a quiet confidence settled in her chest. This land and its lessons were part of her now, something she would carry wherever life took her. 2 years had passed since her father first showed her the humming machines and the steady rhythm of work inside the barn. She was 16 now, taller, steadier, her hands surer, and her mind sharper. The familiar sense of oil, scorched metal, and old sawdust filled the air. Sunlight slipped through the gaps in the wooden walls, cutting thin streaks of gold through the dust drifting across the floor. Tawnie stood beside her father, her shoulders squared, hands steady but eager. The oversized welder's helmet settled over her head, unfamiliar but strangely fitting. The sharp crackle of the torch broke the quiet. Tawnie watched closely as her father worked, the bright arc flashing against the steel and sending sparks skittering across the workbench. Heat pulsed against her skin as she studied every movement. The way he held the torch, the slight angle of his wrist, the slow, deliberate motion as metal fused together. Her fingers twitched at her sides, the urge to try to grow stronger with every passing second. Her father lifted his visor and wiped the sweat from his brow. His expression stayed calm, but his eyes carried a quiet expectation as they settled on her. Tawnie swallowed, straightened her back, and stepped forward. "Let me try," she said. Her father hesitated only a moment before nodding and placing the torch in her hands. The weight settled into her grip, heavier than she expected, but not unfamiliar. She lowered the visor and pulled a steady breath. The torch sparked to life in her hands. A year later, Tawnie had grown taller and leaner, her once soft features sharpening with age. The wide, wondering eyes she carried as a child now held a quiet intensity, darker and more thoughtful than before. Her hair had grown longer, curling slightly at the ends after long days beneath the Oklahoma sun. But some things about Tawnie had never changed. The Oklahoma night stretched endlessly above her, a vast black canvas scattered with stars. Cool air rolled across the prairie, carrying the scent of earth and tall grass. Somewhere in the distance, cicadas hummed in the darkness. Tawnie sat near the top of the hill behind the barn, her arms wrapped around her knees as she looked up at the sky. She had walked this path countless times since she was little. The worn dirt trail wound quietly up a hill, rising just enough to place the farm below and the sky wide open above. It had always been her refuge. Up here, the world felt smaller. The fences, the barns, the fields stretching across the land, all of it seemed distant from this height. But the sky felt closer. The stars blinked steadily overhead, scattered across the sky. Her eyes drifted past them, settling on the pale glow of the moon hanging quietly above the fields. Tawnie tilted her head back, breathing slowly, letting the cool air brush across her face. One day, she would reach them. Her fingers traced loose patterns in the dirt at her feet, curves, arcs, and looping lines that seemed to move with rhythm only she understood. Thoughts flittered through her mind, half equations, half daydreams, tugging at the edges of the life she knew and the one she longed to chase beyond the horizon. Below her, the barn rested in shadow, silent and still, the same barn where sparks had once leapt from the steel beneath her hands. Up here, under the vast unending sky, Tawnie followed invisible lines in her imagination, connecting the moon, the stars, the shapes in the night one day guide her hand. She wondered how she could harness the sky itself, and whether she could ever bend it to her curiosity. The small desk lamp threw a warm circle of light across Tawnie's workspace, cutting through the darkness of the Oklahoma night. The thick aerospace textbook lay open before her, pages bent and worn, notes scribbled in the margins. Her dark eyes, sharp and steady, scanned the dense diagrams and equations, following flight paths and arcs as if she could see them stretch across the sky. Outside, the summer night was alive with sound, the steady hum of cicadas drifting through the open window, the soft rustle of wheat brushing together in the gentle breeze. The air carried the faint sweetness of honeysuckle and the dry scent of freshly cut hay. Tawnie didn't notice. Her focus was absolute. She flipped the page, fingertips brushing the paper as her pencil tapped softly against the edge of the desk. Numbers, angles, and schematic sprawled across her notebook, layered atop her own sketches, arcs that mirrored the trajectories, spirals of curves that hinted at energy and motion. Her mind traced them as if she could feel the physics behind them, see the forces bending invisibly in the air around her. She paused, pencil hovering, then drew a faint lightning-like jag in the margin, a line that didn't belong in any textbook, just a spark of curiosity, one she didn't fully understand yet, but it made her chest tighten with possibility. It was reckless, ambitious, and entirely hers. Tawnie stretched her shoulders, letting the chair creak beneath her, then leaned back just long enough to glance out the window. The sky stretched wide, a black canvas scattered with stars. Her eyes drifted upward, finally resting on the silver curve of the moon. She traced it with her gaze, imagining trajectories, arcs, energy moving across space, lines that might one day lead her further than she'd ever gone before. Her welding gloves lay nearby, faintly smelling of metal and scorched steel, a reminder of the hours she had spent in the barn. 2 years of practice had made her precise, confident, almost professional. Sparks had once startled her. Now they felt like old friends dancing at her fingertips. That knowledge, muscle memory, patience, intuition coursed through her even here, as she worked silently, alone with her books and the night. She turned to another page, eyes flickering to the diagrams, imagining how the forces in the equations could be applied in the real world, how motion and energy could be contained, directed, or even captured. The page rustled softly as she underlined a sentence with her fingernail, a small, unconscious gesture that tethered her thoughts to the work before her. Hours passed in a quiet, absorbed concentration. The scratching of pencil on paper became a rhythm she didn't notice anymore, only the satisfaction of a problem after problem solved. Connection after connection made. Each line, each arc, each note was a step forward, another piece of the world she was building in her mind. Outside, the stars blinked steadily, distant and silent. Tawnie's gaze lingered on the moon again, and for a moment she allowed herself to imagine, not just equations and mechanics, but captured energy, bending it to her will, testing limits, something that hadn't existed before, something daring. The night stretched on, quiet but alive, and Tawnie kept going, focused, intent, already thinking 2 steps ahead, ready for the experiments and sparks that would follow. The barn stood in a quiet solitude wrapped in the stillness of the Oklahoma night. Outside, the wind whispered through the fields, rustling the tall grass and carrying the scent of damp earth and distant rain. Inside, the air was thick, with familiar smells of oil, metal, and sawdust, the perfume of work and creation. Tawnie stood at her workbench, her silhouette framed in the warm glow of a single overhead light. The table before her was scattered with parts, wires, and bolts, fragments of ideas waiting to become something more. She exhaled slowly, rolling her shoulders to ease the tension. Her hands, steady and confident, moved over the pieces, selecting a metal strut with a precision of someone who had long since learned the language of machines. She traced its cool surface with her fingers, feeling the weight of the potential humming beneath the steel. Reaching for her welder's helmet, her movements were practiced, fluid. The visor came down, shrinking the world in a single point of focus. And then the spark. White, hot light burst as the torch ignited, flames licking at the metal, fusing and shaping it. The hiss and crackle of welding filled the barn, a steady pulse that marched to the beat of her heart. She was no longer a child marveling at her father's work, no longer the wide-eyed girl who once stared up at a towering shelves in wonder. She had grown into this, into the weight of responsibility, into the hunger for more. The metal glowed beneath her torch, bending to her will. She was ready for whatever came next. Above her, unseen beyond the wooden rafters, the stars burned bright. The sun hung high, relentless, turning the fields into a sea of gold. The wheat and tall grass swayed under the wind, brushing against each other with a soft rustle. Fence posts cast long, thin shadows across the dry soil, marking the slow crawl of the afternoon. Richard leaned on his shovel, sweat tracing lines down his weathered face. Hours of work had left him slow, every movement deliberate, the weight of the years pressing down on him. A low growl of an approaching ATV broke the quiet. Tawnie rode toward him, dust swirling behind her, eyes scanning his figure with concern. She brought the vehicle to a stop, swung her leg over and planted her boots firmly on the earth. "Dad," she called, her voice steady but edged with worry. "Are you okay?" He looked up, offered a tired but familiar grin, the kind that said he was fine, even when she knew he wasn't. He wiped his forehead with the back of his hand. "Just a little tired, sweetheart. It's hot out here." Tawnie's jaw tightened, seeing him move slower, breathe heavier, trying to work like he was still 25, made something stir in her chest. "Let me take over, Dad. You need a rest." Richard hesitated for only a moment, and in that brief pause, he realized she wasn't that little girl who clung to his hand anymore. She was strong, steady, determined, the reflection of everything he had taught her. Tawnie leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to his cheek, gentle but full of meaning. Then she swung back to the ATV's, hands sure and confident. The engine rumbled beneath her as she guided it toward the unfinished work. She would finish this, because that's what he had taught her. The house was quiet, only the wind brushing against the windows and the soft creak of the floorboards followed her steps. The air felt heavy tonight. She paused outside her parents' bedroom, drawn by something in the stillness. Through the dim glow of the bedside lamp, she saw him, her father laying still, pale, breathing shallow. Her mother sat at the edge of the bed holding his hand, a damp cloth pressed gently against his forehead. He didn't seem this weak before. He was always the one who hid when he was sick, the one who pushed through. Tawnie couldn't remember the last time she'd seen him like this. She stayed in the doorway, fingers tightening around the frame. Her mother's eyes met hers, full of worry. No words were spoken, just a shared understanding of fear neither wanted to say aloud. She stepped inside slowly, careful. "Is he okay?" Her voice was soft, controlled, but the tremor she tried to hide slipped through. Her mother lifted tired eyes to her. "He's resting, honey. That's all we can do right now." Tawnie swallowed, her throat dry, mind racing with the thoughts she couldn't speak. She nodded, small, uncertain. She lingered for a long moment, feeling the weight of a room pressing down, the reality settling deep in her chest. Her father was sick, and there was nothing she could do.